In my last video, I did taking off this cover right here to replace this gasket and this gasket. In this video, I'm gonna do an in-car camshaft bridge. So we've got a triple square, we've got some T30s, and we've got a special camshaft adjustment bolt that's reverse thread in here that's tucked down in here. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just put it in time since the covers are off. And the trigger's going the wrong way, of course. So I have to and back on, and I'm just turning the crank with the bolt until I get it timed. And how do I know when it's timed? I'm looking at these camshafts. You see how it has the half moon in that camshaft? There's one that's coming around here too, but it'll probably be out of time. How out of time is it gonna be? I don't really know yet. We'll find out together. We're putting it right now in a relative location to where we can look at it. Because we've got this timing mark right here. See that line and that arrow right there? All right. Okay, it looks like we're still pretty close or in time, but the chain might be to its max stretch. So, I mean, it's obviously not bent yet. We don't have bent valves yet, so let's take the cover off and take a look at it. But before we do that, let's take this off. So, yeah, you can put your triple square in there, but another thing you can do is everyone should own Nipex pliers. Even before you buy triple square, inverted Torx, or any of that other stuff, you should have your Nipex pliers, because look, I just got that bolt off with the pliers. And it was a 10 triple square, which I could have put the socket in there too, but it's just as handy to do that. On this special reverse thread, see, this tool's worn out and it's missing a stud, but it still works. If you don't have this tool, if worst case scenario, you can use a punch and a hammer. Just be careful, don't go crazy with it. It just takes a few little gentle taps, but I've got the correct tool, so I'm not gonna go showing you the backyard way. To tell you the truth, I like to just kind of stick it in here like this and gently go around until I feel it. Right there. So when you feel it snag, you can go back at it and then treat it like a ratchet. And remember, this is reverse thread, so. And then on this particular case, since it's loose, I'm gonna take my other hand and put this 18mm wrench right here. That way it doesn't skip any further, because for instance, if it was really close to bending valves and you're just trying to get that loose and you bend valves right now, you could have avoided that, because this thing still runs and drives. I'm just doing the chain. So I broke it loose with both hands. The cam did not move, everything's perfectly fine. And this is my favorite attachment. I'll make a special video on it just for it, but that's all you get to see for now. Now we get a T30 stubby to get these out. And this long neck ratchet does the wonders. We just stick it in here and we'll get the rest of them, just like so. See, that one is not going with it seated, so I'm going to give it, this isn't advisable, but give it just a little bit of a nudge. And get yourself in trouble with doing stuff like that, you know. Now, hopefully, if everything's good, you should just be able to kind of wiggle it off. I like to push these bolts back in or take them out at that point, but typically I just like to keep them where they are and wiggle this thing off. And then as soon as we take this off, see, these bolts are giving me a hassle. As soon as we take this off, we're looking to make sure that this dowel doesn't come out or fall out. We're flipping it around. And we're looking at that screen, and the screen is blown out. And yeah, one of my bolts fell out. It's right here at my feet, but that's why it's a good idea to go ahead and pull them out. I'm using one hand right now. So let's take a look and see if we can find the rest of the screen in that hole before we go any further. And there it is. You see it? Right there. So now I'm going to take this pick and I'm going to go in here just like this. Look at that. There it is. That screen can go in there sideways and clog up that oil passage and then cause scoring on these camshafts. In this case, I think we're in good shape, but let's take that bottom case off and look further. I've seen that spring go bad and come loose before. Most of the time, that control valve is perfectly fine. As long as there's not scoring in these journals, they do sell an updated version of this bridge, but this is perfectly fine. You're in good shape. But you do want to pop the rest of the screen out of the back of this. So coming over here to the back, you can usually take like a flat blade screwdriver, or this is a pretty stout pick, and you can usually pop it out. I mean, I probably have to put it in the vise to show you with one hand. You just stick something in here, wedge it in there, and then just kind of pop it out sideways like that. And then you just toss that out. You do want to make sure that this check valve is still spring loaded and everything right here is intact. I've seen this come out and break loose before. If you were just doing this camshaft bridge and you were putting it back together, this part can be a little bit tricky. You simply have to span these like so, and let's see if it will go on, because sometimes it gets stuck. It has to be as straight as possible. And if you'll notice, this collar goes a little bit further than that one. That collar is around the bottom. So sometimes you're just off a little bit from one side to the other, and you can, under no circumstances, start drawing it in with the bolts before you get it set in flush. So sometimes whenever you just start it like this though, you can put one hand like this, and then you can grab your wrench right here on the intake side, and you can carefully move this cam just a little bit. Now I'm doing a timing chain, and that chain was so loose that it popped a half tooth just moving it like that. So I'm not gonna mess around like that anymore, but let me show you another method without, if you don't feel so comfortable doing that, you can just, I mean, I probably popped it in just with my little half tooth. That probably just spun it just enough to get it. But let's pop it off one more time, and let's see if it's gonna be tricky to put back on. It's really all about just getting it perfectly lined up and not forcing it. Even removing it is difficult because it's such a a perfect seamless fit. You kind of just have to, see, I was just giving it love taps. No prying or, so now when you put it on, you just simply gently put it on. Just I can notice that this side is just a little bit too aggressive, so all right, in this case, what I've done before is something like this, and then you see that I pushed that side, and then this side needs a lot. See that? And then see, this is that method I don't like as much because it kind of tweaks it out just a little bit. I kind of prefer just to move the camshaft a little bit, but you have to make sure you have good timing before you go moving the camshaft. Like, you could slip time that way. So it is tricky sliding this thing back on sometimes. That's the couple ways that I do it. And with both hands, what I do is I take a screwdriver or something like this, and then I take a rubber hammer and just barely tap from side to side, and usually preferably in the middle, unless I can see one side's tweaked a little bit more than the other. So, and then you just put it back together in reverse order, taking it apart. You should know how to do that. You saw me take it apart in the other video. If you don't know, then go find it. It's in my catalog.